I'm doing okay. It's a little polleny, so you can hear snuffles periodically throughout this. Got my coffee with my oat milk, sugar free. I got my egg and cheese sandwich, a little bit kick. Um, it's a good day. It's a good day. I have this really funny story that I have to tell you. I don't want to eat anything while I'm saying. So Alec and I are watching this really bad movie called Argyle. It's free on Max, I think, and it's. I know that Bryce Dallas Howard's in it, and I feel like the guy who played The Witcher, who's Henry Cavill's in it, and like Sam Rockwell and Samuel Jackson. There's a lot of people who are in this movie, and in essence, this lady writes about spies, and then she finds out that she's accidentally writing things that are actual things that happened in the spy world, and she predicted the next spy thing that was going to happen, and so it ensues. It ensues. I mean, Dua Lipa's in it too. Actually, there we go. Good poster. Love this thing. Um, and Dua Lipa's there. She's a pop star, and and I'm getting a notification on my phone, and Alex getting a notification on her phone. We're watching it on the sofa that Duolingo is saying, you got to practice today. And her and I have been doing Duolingo pretty steadily for somewhere around somewhere around probably 3-4 years. And for the most part, like all people who study Duolingo, and I say this with the warmest, most gentle, nice way to say it, we barely speak the language that we've been studying. Um, Duolingo has not been helpful as far as that goes. Like I can read it really well, but conversational. I know like educational, and I've probably got like maybe a child's mastery of Portuguese, and I'd say I have a better mastery of Spanish because I speak Spanish in my day to day life. So it's been kind of helpful as like a catch up for for those things and my grammar type of stuff. Um, I say this because Dua Lipa is a pop star. Duolingo is a language app, and we always make fun of it because it kind of sucks. Though it's fun, but it's not fun at the same time. And it's 420, and we're watching, and we're a little silly, and I look over at my wife and I go, "Man, Duolingo's ridiculous." No, man, Dua Lipa ain't never taught me no Spanish. She starts laughing and she goes, "Yeah, I know, right?" She's like, yeah, no, Dua Lipa would not be the person who teaches you Spanish or Portuguese or her Japanese or anything of those nature. Like, it's a little unfair that people expect Dua Lipa to be able to teach them how to be a mastery of languages. And I just started laughing, and she's laughing. And it was just very stupid, but it was very funny. And I wonder how many times people have done that. We're like, man, if Dua Lipa don't stop bothering me, and you're just like, you mean Duolingo? And they're like, that's what I said. That's what I said. This new Duolingo song is off the charts. So I'm just like, yeah, it just rolled into like the most ridiculous kind of banter for a while. And it's true. Duolingo has not won a Grammy for a pop song. All these statements are true. From the top to the bottom. To the bottom to the top. Duolingo is not trying to bring back disco. Maybe it is, actually. I think there's a music thing for it. But it was just fun. It was fun and silly. We watched the pay-per-view yesterday. We we've always liked wrestling and we've always liked wrestling and uh, So we follow like AEW and stuff like that. So AEW had a pay per view last night. So what we typically do when we watch pay per views is we cook a bunch of food or we order a bunch of food and we like clean the house or we go to the grocery store or we work on a bunch of projects or whatever that we have to work on before the show starts. And then for however many hours it is, sometimes it's like 3 to 4 hours, we sit there and we laugh and we joke and we watch the game, watch the things, and we're silly and it's just fun, you know. And we had a good time. It was nice. That's the whole point. It's nice, but it's one of those things where, like, you know, we plan it out. We know several weeks in advance when it's gonna be, and then you know we sit and we watch it and we have a good time. And you know, it's not free, so there is also that aspect. Mm. This is really good, actually. It was really good. So in this, I put like some like Old Bay, some salt. Sorry, some Old Bay. Not I don't add salt because Old Bay is basically salt anyway. Old Bay, pepper, uh, cayenne, some Italian seasoning, and then I grill onions and garlic. And then after I do all that, and let that cook for a while, then I set up the bread, I slice the cheese, put it on one side, I put mayo on the other, and then after all that's done, flip the onions, and then I add the eggs. And then I just let the eggs sit and cook. And then I fold them, and we have this monstrosity going on here. And it's been really good, honestly. I think a lot of meals are, you know, some of the simplest meals are some of the best meals. I do laugh though because I know a lot of people. I say this from a West Indian Afro Latino perspective. I know a lot of white people who like eat foods they shouldn't eat, and it just rips them apart inside. And they're like, "Oh man, I love curry," but they can't eat curry. "Oh man, I love tacos," but they can't eat tacos. And it's kind of one of those things where it's always strange to see, like they love this food so much, and I guess in a way that's kind of a compliment to the food, but it's a little strange sometimes to see. It's a little strange sometimes to see that people eat foods that make them deathly ill. Like, I don't understand that. Like, I gave up milk because milk hurt my body for forever. And I give up dairy, other than cheese, for the same reasons. Like, it just wasn't enjoying it anymore. Like, I love pizza, but I'm diabetic, so I can't do cheese, and I'm not really supposed to do most bread things. This is like a special bread. It's what I refer to as sexy bread. It's super thin. Yo, Ryan! How's it going, brother? Good to see you. I'm doing well. So diabetes, you typically have to eat like if you eat bread, you have to eat certain types of bread that are less carbohydrate loaded, less sugary. So that's what I do. It works out well. I still got my sensor going on. I'm having to fight with my doctors right now because Danielson, how's it going? Danielson. Ben Nielsen. D. Nielsen. We'll go with Daniel. I don't know. Hey man, how's it going? And so I'm fighting with my doctors right now because my old doctor moved away or quit or something of this nature. It's not particularly clear in the thing that I got in the mail. So I have a new doctor that I haven't met with yet, but I just went in about 2 weeks ago, 2 to 3 weeks ago, to get a physical for the year to check up where they ran all the blood tests and did all the things. And in that, I got my prescription refilled for more of these because I don't want to prick my fingers. I don't like pricking my fingers. It's not a fun situation in my life. And it leaves me with a lot of sore spots and stuff on my hands, and it makes it difficult for painting and the mechanic work and all these things. So I try to not do that regularly. Um, so the continuous glucose monitor, I just stamp it into my arm like a road spike, and then it just reads my blood sugar all day and yells at me when I eat poorly or drink too much caffeine or these types of things. And for the most part, I haven't really had a lot of notifications, or even if it goes off, it's only in what's quote unquote the danger zone, uh, maybe about 10 to 15 minutes, and then it starts to go back down out of it. I think the longest I've probably had it is maybe an hour in the last couple months. When I think about it, until I really had considered it, in 2 months it will be a year since my diagnosis. So, coming up on a year. I feel like I'm getting the grips of it, the handles on it, the understanding it. I feel like it's less complicated than it once was. I feel like I don't feel now when I walk into a place that I don't have anything to eat. I'm also walking in way less places, so that helps. But yeah, I keep saying I'm gonna quit eating rice altogether, but then I go to a Japanese festival and they have nigiri, and I love nigiri. Nigiri is like rice packed in a shape. Most of the time it's triangle, inugiri, and it's wrapped in seaweed, and typically it's seasoned with vegetables, or in my case, vegetables, maybe tuna fish, maybe seasonings, and they're very good. It's like very much, it's like the Japanese equivalent of a sandwich, basically. Though I believe they probably also have sandwiches. I hate to use the phrase samurai food, but that's kind of what it was. I don't like using it because I think people try and equate everything in Japan with like samurai, geisha, or anime. And as a friend of mine laughingly said about a week ago, if you go to Japan and you dress up in a kimono, people will look at you like you're weird, but they're also very happy to see you practicing in a shared part of their culture. But keep in mind, people in Japan wear regular ass clothes just like everybody else does. So you'll look weird because you're dressed up like an old timey, be like going to work dressed up like a Renaissance character, type of thing. But they said, he said, he's like, it's just, it's part of our culture. We celebrate it, we love it, type of thing. I really want to see the new Godzilla movie because, as you all know, I love me some Godzilla movies because they're stupid and they're fun. It's a big, stupid monster movie. And I love it. The funny thing about a lot of these movies, as a painter, I'm like a sculptor and filmmaker and so on and so forth. I'm always tempted when I see something that I like to then make my own version of it. I'm not going to make a Godzilla movie. So slow down, slow down. What I am going to do is maybe make some Godzilla artwork, Maybe get some maybe make like a print or a poster or a little silly drawing. The question would be, do I make like it digitally or do I make it traditionally? I love making things traditionally, typically. There's something about a pen stroke or a brush stroke or crayons or paint or Posca markers, and it's just fun. And sometimes I just like making stuff. I like making stuff that has no beyond that moment purpose. You know what I mean? Like there's a weirdness in the idea of I make this so that I can monetize this. I'm like, that's not why I learned to do all the things I learned how to do. Not initially, anyways. I've been doing all these drawings recently. I've been adding all these things, and I think they're very interesting to me. I just like doing them. Like I think the funny part about even my YouTube channel, that's been around for 12 years, I originally started doing it because I saw these artists that had art videos, and I was like, I really want one. I really want to make some because I like the way these make me feel. I'd love to make some of my own. And so I learned literally from almost scratch how to do it. Like when I was a young teenager and I was having kind of a hard time with my life, I did some filmography work for a church. My mom was going to a church and they needed a cameraman in the balcony with the whole thing. And so I did that. And there was another cameraman who was on the floor and he was taking pictures of people and doing stuff. But that's what I did. I had like the thing in my ear, get a shot of this, give me a nice little pan, zoom in, zoom out, etc. And I learned quite a few things that in that summer, basically. Oddly enough, nothing religious whatsoever, but it got me kind of on my way in a lot of ways. Like a couple years later, I bought a camcorder that I still have to this day. And I just got into everything. Like pre-blogs, I was trying to figure out a way to like make something, and then a lot of people said it reminded them more of documentaries than it did like art videos per se. And I think initially I took that bad. I took that as you're failing at this attempt. But what it really meant was like you have a unique style in which you're doing these things. And so when I watch it, I see all this stuff. And I mean, it was definitely a learning experience. Like, I had to learn to use a tripod because my hands would shake a little bit. I'd move around a little too fast and do stuff like that. And I learned how to get away from those moments, how to edit, how to do sound, how to do color, how to just do all these little parts and pieces. And I think a lot of that is actually true for most artists, where you learn how to do these other things that aren't just kind of in your field of art that you do. And it's all part of the process of like promoting yourself. And I've learned throughout the years, because of all the different times of agreeing to do things and not really wanting to do them and so on and so forth, that you have to say no on occasion. And if you don't, like, you'll just be bitter towards people who are asking for help that you don't want to either help, or you're not available to help, and so it's inconvenienced, or it's just something you don't want to do. And you kind of have to learn as time goes by, like, this is important. It's important for you, it's important to your friends, it's important to your family, it's important to strangers, it's important to all these people, that we just kind of are honest with each other, you know? Like, you think the meanest thing you can say to somebody is, no, I don't want to help you. Or, no, I don't want to help you move your house. Or, no, I don't want to agree to come in on this day to do something. I'm very tired. You know, you don't want to say those things because it feels like you're being cruel or you're letting people down. But, like, the truth is, like, people get told no every day. Like, it's a large part of the experience of being alive. And so you have to learn to then say it yourself. I had a pickup truck for many, many years, and I hardly ever said no to anybody who ever tried to talk me into helping them. I won't say ask me, because most of the time they didn't ask me. They'd go, hey man, I need you to be this place, and blah, 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 blah. Bring your truck, I go do this, we gotta move a house, blah, 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 blah. And it was one of those things where it was like, I was getting more like demands or orders than I was being asked for my participation. And I realized somewhere in that part of my life that I had to kind of stop and then reevaluate it. I sometimes wonder in a lot of ways whether the mural company came about because everybody else was getting into murals and it was super hard to sell art. And so murals became the next kind of step. And I do love doing murals, but like, if you were to ask me whether I'd loved doing murals over just sitting in my studio and painting, no. Being outside and painting is very difficult. Being around other people while you're painting is kind of difficult. There's security issues you have to worry about. There's elements. There's nothing quite kind of like painting something, having a fresh coat of paint, and then wind just blows all the trash and dirt and nastiness that's on the ground about 20 feet away across it, and it's just all in the works. And so you have to figure out whether you want to scrape it off or whether you want to paint over it, or and it's there's also nothing's a smooth surface, so everything kind of has cracks and bumps and all this stuff. And I learned from many an artist that I studied under back in the day that like a putty knife and some putty is a huge thing to just bring with you when you do murals, because inevitably there will be some crazy craggly hole somewhere that needs to be, and then that's it. And most of the stuff dries really quickly, so it's not so much a problem there, but it can be really difficult at some points to just realize all the things you need to have with you, and then making sure no one steals them while you're up on a ladder, on a crane, or got your back turned or whatever. It's a wild time. I gotta say, it's a wild time. For those who've been asked, yes, I did make this Black Lives Matter shirt because I was enthralled and live in a time where it needs to be stated. And so I made a shirt. And then it was really popular, actually. It sold a lot. I ended up making prints, I made shirts, I made variants, I did all that stuff. And I felt really good about it. I definitely had quite a few older white people try and get in my business about it. I've tried to, on most situations, just roll it off my back. And it's always interesting to hear like people who are upset about it, because it's one of those things where it's like, well, I mean, what are you worried about? Like, Are you worried that in admitting that Black Lives Matter, that you're trying to discredit whatever race or background you have, or you're afraid of offending people who don't fit the black moniker? Is that what it is? Are you a racist? Like what exactly brings that on is what I think would be the question. And most of the time, people don't have a good answer, or they don't want to say they're offended because they're a little racist. Most people think that's great. It's weird to. I mean, it's weird when you wear a shirt and you forget you have it on, and people walk up to you and like black power fist you, or like high five you, and you're just like, "What is this about?" Oh, the shirt. It's the shirt. I was like, "I'm cool, but I'm not that cool." Yeah. So, these are things. Probably gonna go by the comic shop later. Talk to Gritty and everybody, Michael and Gritty, see how they're doing. Probably pick up Spider-Man or something like that. Yeah, I'm gonna work on a little bit of artwork in some notebooks. I've got like tons of little notebooks and big notebooks that I've been making art on for the better part of several years now. And so one day I'm gonna make like a huge flip book of all of them, of like 3 or 4 of them, maybe 12. And that'll be an interesting day. Yeah. Until later, Galeras. Finished my food. Halfway through my coffee. I haven't really been finishing cups of coffee for a couple years now. And be cool. Be nice to yourself. And I will see you next week. Painter out. Love you, mean it. Always. Click, click. Wink, wink. Ba-bow. Ba-bam.